That night wasn't just a movie night. Changed everything. My brother, Zephyr, kissed me. I didn't stop him. Maybe I wanted it. We'd always shared a room. Bunk beds, late night talks, then twin beds. It never felt strange until recently. Things shifted. His teasing went from harmless to something else. He called me pretty boy, not kid. His looks changed. The air felt charged around him. That night, past midnight, the house was silent. Moonlight lit Zephyr. We talked, then silence. Then, "Wanna practice kissing?" I turned my head, blinking in the dark. "What? Girls love that soft, slow stuff," he continued, stretching his arms over his head. "You want to get good at it. You've got to practice. Just saying." I laughed, but it came out too high-pitched. "You're such an idiot. I'm just looking out for you, pretty boy," he teased. "Unless you're scared, I might be better than you." He chuckled like it was no big deal, but I couldn't see his face clearly. Couldn't tell if he was joking. My throat was dry. "Dude, you're messed up," he snorted. "Relax. I'm kidding. Jesus." But I wasn't relaxed. Not even a little. My chest was tight and my palms were sweaty. And I suddenly felt very aware of the shape of his body in the moonlight, the cut of his jaw, the way his shirt clung to his chest. I rolled over onto my side, facing away from him. "Good night, Zephyr." "Night," he said casually. But the silence that followed wasn't casual. It was thick, heavy. I stared at the wall, trying to force my thoughts elsewhere. Anything else, but my brain kept circling back to the sound of his voice. The way he said it, the idea of his lips close to mine, his breath warm and slow. Practicing. I hated myself for even thinking about it. Zephyr was my brother, but my body didn't seem to care. Heat pulled low in my stomach, and I bit the inside of my cheek, trying to push the thoughts away. Maybe he really was just messing around. He'd always teased me like that, called me pretty, joked about how all my friends had crushes on me. Once he even said I had a model pout when I got annoyed. It was just how he was. He liked pushing buttons. But this felt different. Like he was pushing a button he wasn't supposed to know existed. I heard him shift in his bed, a soft sigh, then nothing. I closed my eyes, hoping sleep would drown out the thoughts, but it didn't. If anything, it made them worse. I remembered every time he called me beautiful, every time he ruffled my hair or hugged me a little too long, the way his hands gripped my shoulders when we wrestled, how it always made my skin buzz in a way it shouldn't. My face burned. I shoved the blanket off. Too hot now, too aware of everything. What if he wasn't kidding? That thought rooted in my chest and curled around my ribs like a vine. What if he'd meant it and then panicked? What if he was feeling the same confusion I was? Or worse, what if he knew exactly what he was doing? I hated how much I wanted to know the answer. The minutes dragged. The silence stretched. I thought he'd fallen asleep. But then, "Are you still awake?" Zephyr's voice cut softly through the dark. My heart jumped. "Yeah. You okay?" I hesitated. "Yeah. Just thinking." A beat of silence. "About earlier," I swallowed. "It was just a joke, right?" Another pause. He let out a breath. "Yeah, man. Just messing with you." He didn't say anything else, and neither did I. But I didn't believe him because his voice had trembled when he said it. Because his breathing wasn't steady, because I could feel his eyes on me again, and because deep down I wanted it not to be a joke. I shifted onto my back and stared up at the ceiling. The fan kept spinning, casting shadows across the room like slow-moving ghosts. My chest ached with confusion and guilt and something I didn't want to name. I should have laughed with him, should have called him gross and thrown a pillow at him like I always did. But I didn't. I just lay there still as stone, wondering what it meant that the thought of kissing my brother wouldn't leave me alone. And worse, wondering what I would have done if he hadn't taken it back. But I couldn't stop wondering. Zephyr had always teased me. It was kind of his thing. I was the younger one, the sensitive one, the one who used to cry when he scared me with ghost stories. He used to poke fun at how I walked, how I dressed, even how I ate cereal, as if I was afraid the spoon would bite me. But that was the thing. It always felt harmless, familiar, brotherly. Lately, though, his teasing felt different. It wasn't the usual stuff. It was more pointed, like when I walked into the kitchen that morning and he raised his eyebrows slowly, lips curling into that cocky smile. "Damn," he muttered, taking a sip from his coffee. "You get hotter while I sleep, or something?" I blinked at him, confused. "What?" He shrugged casually. "You just look good, that's all. Didn't expect you to grow into that face." I rolled my eyes and tried to laugh it off, but I felt the heat climb up my neck anyway. I turned toward the fridge to hide it. "Ah," he said behind me, his voice a little too soft. "You're blushing again." I pulled out the milk, gripping the carton tighter than I needed to. "Shut up. I'm just saying it's kind of cute." I didn't answer. Couldn't. My heart was thudding too hard in my chest and my face felt like it was on fire. I poured cereal into a bowl, focusing on the clinking sound instead of the way Zephyr was still watching me. Like I was something he wanted to take apart just to see what was inside. And maybe that was the worst part because I didn't hate it. Later that day, we ended up outside. Dad had asked us to clean out the garage, which mostly meant Zephyr did half the work while I carried the lighter stuff and tried not to stare at him whenever he lifted his shirt to wipe sweat off his forehead. His arms were tanner than I remembered, muscles more defined. At one point, he climbed up the ladder to reach some boxes and told me to hold it steady. "Try not to get distracted by my ass," he called down. I laughed nervously, looking anywhere else. "You're such a loser. I mean, I wouldn't blame you," he added. "It's a great ass." He wiggled it for emphasis and I groaned. "Oh my God, Zephyr." He laughed, loud and bright. I felt something twist in my stomach. Nothing like annoyance. Something darker. Something I didn't want to name. When we were finally done, we collapsed in the living room, both shirtless, both exhausted. A movie was playing in the background, but I wasn't really watching it. I was too aware of how close we were on the couch. Our knees kept brushing. His bare shoulder was just a few inches from mine. He stretched, arms over his head, and his bicep grazed my cheek. "Oops," he said with a lazy grin. "Didn't mean to flex on you like that." "You're such a dick," I mumbled. "You like it," he said. And then, after a pause, he added, "You know I'm just messing with you, right?" I nodded. Yeah, but I didn't believe him. Because if it was just messing around, why did he keep looking at me like that? Why did he always find a way to touch me? However small, however fleeting. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I tossed and turned. Sheets tangled around my legs. Thoughts knotted in my brain. I kept remembering the sound of his voice. The way he said, "You're cute." Like it wasn't just teasing. The way his fingers had lingered on my wrist earlier when I handed him a screwdriver. Like he didn't want to let go. I was losing my mind. At some point past 1 a.m., I got up to get water. The hallway was dark and I moved quietly, not wanting to wake anyone. I passed Zephyr's room. Then, "Hey!" His voice, soft and low, caught me off guard. I turned. He was standing in his doorway, shirtless, hair messy, wearing just a pair of boxers hanging low on his hips. The hallway light cast shadows across his chest. "You good?" he asked. "Yeah," I said too fast. "Just water." He nodded, stepping aside. "Come in for a sec?" I hesitated. Then stupidly I walked in. He closed the door behind me. The room smelled like him. Clean and a little musky, like sweat and shampoo and something I'd never be able to name. "What's up?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. He flopped onto the bed and patted the space beside him. "Sit. I'm bored." I sat barely perched on the edge, like the mattress might catch fire. Zephyr leaned back against the pillows, arms behind his head. "You've been acting weird lately." I glanced at him. "I have." He nodded. "Yeah, like you're scared of me or something." "I'm not." "You flinch when I touch you now." I looked down at my hands. "No, I don't." "You do." A silence stretched between us, long and awkward. Then quietly, he said, "You remember the other night?" "Of course I did." "Yeah. I didn't mean to freak you out," he said. "I was just messing around like always." I nodded, not trusting my voice. But he added, sitting up a little, "If I hadn't taken it back, what would you have done?" My breath caught. I looked at him, heart hammering. "I don't know," I whispered. He stared at me for a second. Then he reached out and touched my face, just his fingers trailing lightly along my jawline. "You're blushing again," he murmured. I swallowed hard. "Stop." He didn't. His fingers slipped down to my collarbone, tracing the edge of my t-shirt. "Zephyr, I just want to know," he said, his voice rough now. "Tell me to stop and I will." I opened my mouth, closed it again. I couldn't speak. He leaned in close enough to kiss, so close I could feel the heat of his skin, but he didn't move further. He just looked at me, waiting. I stood up suddenly. "I need to go." He blinked. "Okay." I turned and left the room, not daring to look back, not trusting myself. I didn't sleep that night either, but not because I was scared, because I wanted to go back. His touch still burned on my skin, and I knew it wasn't just teasing anymore. We were both playing with fire, and I wasn't sure who'd get burned first. Yet I was expecting that to be true, and that was just the beginning. The tension hadn't faded. It only thickened, like smoke you couldn't see but could feel filling your lungs every time you tried to breathe. Ever since that night in Zephyr's room, everything between us had shifted into some new unspoken territory. We didn't talk about it. We didn't mention how close he had leaned in, or how his fingers had brushed my collarbone, or how I'd bolted like the room was collapsing in on itself. But it was there, in the silence, in the stares that lingered a little too long, in the way my body would react before my brain even caught up. It was a Saturday when everything started to unravel. The sky was gray and threatening rain. The kind of afternoon that made the whole house feel sleepy and quiet. Our parents had gone out to visit family friends an hour away and wouldn't be back until late. Zephyr and I were alone, and the stillness of it all felt louder than it should have. I stayed holed up in my room most of the day, headphones in, trying to drown myself in music, but even that didn't help. Every time a floorboard creaked or a door opened somewhere in the house, my stomach clenched automatically, thinking it might be him. It was around 5 when the storm rolled in. Thunder cracked open the sky and the rain came down fast, smacking the windows like it was trying to get in. I stepped out into the hallway, rubbing the back of my neck, and found Zephyr standing near the kitchen, shirtless, sipping from a glass of juice like nothing was wrong. "Power's probably going to cut out," he said, eyes flicking up to meet mine. "Storm's intense." I nodded mutely. He tilted his head like he was studying me. "You've been hiding in your room all day?" "Just tired." I lied. "You avoiding me?" he asked with a small grin, stepping closer. Bare Saul's silent against the wood floor. "Liar." I didn't move. He reached past me to grab a candle from the shelf, his arm brushing mine. "You smell like my shampoo," he said under his breath. "It's yours," I said, barely audible. He just smiled and lit the candle, the flame casting soft shadows over his face. For a second, I couldn't look away. He turned to leave the kitchen. "Come on, you're not going to sit in your room all night." I followed him without knowing why. We ended up in the living room. The candle sat on the coffee table, the lights flickering above us until they finally gave out completely. The room went still, save for the occasional grumble of thunder outside. Zephyr sprawled across the couch, and I sat on the edge of the armchair, arms crossed, trying not to watch him as the candlelight danced over the lines of his body. "You're quiet," he said. "So are you." He tilted his head, thinking. "Why?" My throat tightened. "Why what?" He walked over to where I sat, looking down at me with that same unreadable expression. I didn't move as he leaned over and rested a hand on the armrest beside my head. "You could have told me to stop," he said quietly. "That night," I whispered. "You didn't," he replied. "I walked away, but not because you didn't want it." I stood up suddenly, brushing past him. "You don't know what I want." He followed. "Then tell me." I spun to face him, chest rising and falling. "Why are you doing this?" His voice lowered, eyes locked on mine. "Because I don't want to lie anymore. Not to you, not to myself." My pulse pounded in my ears. "You're my brother." He took another step forward. "Yeah, I know." He reached out slowly, fingers brushing mine. I didn't pull away. Couldn't. My body was trembling and still at the same time, like it didn't know how to be. "You're shaking," he whispered. "I don't know what this is." I breathed. He moved in closer. "Then let me show you." And then he kissed me. It wasn't fast. It wasn't rough. It was soft, slow, hesitant, like he was giving me time to change my mind. But I couldn't. My hand found his chest and stayed there, not pushing him back, just feeling his heartbeat echoing against my palm. When he pulled back, his eyes searched mine. "Say something." "I don't know what to say," I stammered. He gave me a half smile. "That's okay." The silence between us was louder now, stretched tight like a wire. He took my hand. "Come here," he said, leading me toward the hallway. I followed, legs unsteady. We passed our parents' room, past the bathroom, until we stopped in front of his bedroom door. He turned to me. "You don't have to come in." I said nothing, just nodded. He opened the door and stepped inside. I followed and closed it behind us. The candle in his room cast a golden glow flickering across his desk. His bed, his walls covered in posters and old photos of us when we were kids. I stood awkwardly in the middle of the room while he sat on the bed watching me. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded. Then I shook my head. "I don't know." He reached out and I let him pull me closer. I stood between his knees, his hands resting on my hips, his thumbs brushing the edge of my shirt, and I shivered. "We can stop any time," he said. I nodded. "Okay." But I didn't stop him when he lifted my shirt. Didn't stop him when his hands slid up my sides, warm and rough and careful. Didn't stop him when he kissed my chest, my neck, my jaw. Each one slower than the last, like he was learning me piece by piece. I closed my eyes. Let it happen. Let myself feel it. This was wrong. We both knew it. But there was something in the way he touched me that made everything else fall away. No guilt, no shame, just heat and breath and want. He laid me down on his bed and hovered above me, his weight comforting rather than crushing. Our lips met again, deeper now. I kissed him back without thinking, my fingers threading through his hair. The thunder outside grew louder, echoing our own storm inside the room. Time blurred. Eventually, we lay there side by side, our breath slowing, our hands still tangled together like neither of us wanted to let go. Neither of us said a word. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. Zephyr fell asleep first, his chest rising and falling steadily beside me, one arm still slung over my stomach. I stared at the ceiling for what felt like hours, trying to process what had just happened. This wasn't just a kiss anymore. This wasn't teasing. This wasn't a joke. We'd crossed a line, and I didn't know what came next. The house groaned softly as the storm faded into quiet. His room smelled like skin and candle wax and something I couldn't name but knew I'd never forget. When I finally got up and slipped out of the bed, Zephyr didn't stir. I stood at the door for a long time looking back at him. I closed it gently behind me and went back to my room, but I didn't lie down. I just stood there staring at my own reflection in the dark mirror across from the bed. I didn't know who I was anymore, and I didn't know what we'd just done. But I knew one thing. There was no going back. Not now. Not ever. And there was much yet to come. The morning after didn't come with lightness. It came with silence. The kind that didn't whisper peace but screamed uncertainty. I woke up in my own bed, sheets twisted around my legs, my skin still marked with the warmth of his hands. I could still feel his breath on my neck, the way his lips lingered after each kiss, like he was asking permission with every touch, and I kept giving it. I didn't know what time it was. The storm had passed, leaving behind a sky the color of dishwater and a faint chill in the air that made everything feel heavier. I sat up slowly, like any sudden movement might unravel me. From down the hall I heard nothing. No footsteps, no voices, just the occasional creak of the old house settling. I didn't know where Zephyr was. I didn't even know if I wanted to see him, but I needed to. I moved quietly, padding down the hall barefoot. His door was slightly ajar. I paused outside, heart thudding loud enough to echo in my ears. I pushed the door open an inch more and peeked in. He wasn't there. The bed was unmade. Pillows tossed, blankets hanging off the edge. His scent still clung to the air, but the room was empty. I backed away, unsure what I expected. A smile, a conversation, some kind of explanation that would make this feel less impossible. Back in the kitchen, I found a folded piece of paper sitting beside the coffee pot. It had my name scrolled on it in his messy handwriting. Didn't want to wake you. Going out for a drive. Need time to think. Last night, we'll talk soon. No signature, no heart or smiley face or even a dash. Just cold, clean words that made my stomach twist. He needed time to think. I needed to not be alone. The day passed in a haze. I stayed in my room, headphones on, trying to distract myself with noise, but nothing stuck. I'd press play on a song and not even register it. My mind was replaying everything. Every touch, every breath, every word we didn't say but screamed through the way we moved. We didn't just cross a line. We erased it. And now there was no map for where to go. By the time the sun dipped low, I heard the front door open. My pulse jumped. I rushed to my bedroom door, pressing my ear against it like I was 12 years old again. Footsteps, slow, hesitant. Then a knock. I opened the door and there he was. Zephyr stood there, hoodie on, hair tousled from the wind, eyes tired. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey." Neither of us moved. Then after a beat, he asked, "Can we talk?" I stepped aside. He entered, hands shoved in his pockets. He looked at the floor, at the ceiling, anywhere but at me. "I didn't mean to leave like that," he said. I nodded. "It's fine." "It's not," he said, finally meeting my eyes. I panicked. "Me too." He sat on the edge of my bed. I stayed standing, arms crossed. "What do we do now?" I asked. He let out a breath. "I don't know. I wish I did." There was a pause. Then he asked, "Do you regret it?" The question hit like a slap. I hesitated. "Zephyr," he said. He looked up. "I regret how confusing it is, how scared it makes me," I said. He swallowed. "Not what we did," he added. "Me neither." He stood up slowly, stepping toward me. My breath caught. "I thought maybe I ruined everything," he murmured. "That I broke you." "You didn't break me," I whispered. "You made me feel seen, wanted." For the first time in my life, I didn't feel broken. He blinked fast, like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. I stepped forward and wrapped my arms around him, pressing my face into his shoulder. He held me like he was scared I'd vanish. We stood like that for a long time. No words, just breath and warmth and the sound of rain beginning again outside. That night, we didn't sneak around. He didn't slip into my bed like a secret. He came in, closed the door behind him, and laid beside me like it was the most natural thing in the world. I turned to face him in the dark. He reached out and touched my cheek gently, brushing my hair back from my forehead. "Are you sure?" he whispered. I nodded. This time, it wasn't fast. There was no rush, no panic, just slow, careful touches. A kiss that started soft and deepened slowly. His hands moved over me like he was rediscovering me. Like everything he did was a question, and every sigh I gave was the answer. It wasn't just physical. It was emotional, devotional. When we finally gave in completely, it felt like falling and flying at the same time. Terrifying, beautiful, irrevocable. Afterward, we lay tangled in each other, breathing slowly. Zephyr pressed a kiss to my forehead. "I love you." I didn't flinch. "I think I always have," he added. My voice shook when I said, "I don't know what we are, but I don't want to lose you." "You won't." "How can you be so sure?" He pulled me closer. "Because I'm not letting you go." Sleep was lost not to guilt, but whispered confessions. He'd long known his feelings weren't brotherly. My confusion at his touch, my shameful longing mirrored his. Shame faded by dawn, replaced by irreversible reality. The unknown future wasn't scary when he looked at me. Back in my room, still smelling of him, labels didn't matter. I felt whole, chosen. Possessed. It happened. Undeniable. Each day, each attempt to deny it failed. Raw, real, permanent. But Zephyr retreated, acting as if the night never happened. I waited, hoping. Days passed, nothing. He avoided me. Jokes died. Eye contact vanished. We were strangers burdened by a shared secret. Sleep evaded me as I replayed the night, questioning if I'd imagined it, if he just used me. Finally, I snapped, confronting him in the garage. We need to talk. Not now. Now. You're avoiding me. He turned blank. What do you want? Stop pretending I don't exist. That night happened. He looked away. It was a mistake. A mistake? Or are you scared? No answer. Coward. I'm not. He snapped, pained. You can't pull me in. Say you love me, then pretend it meant nothing. He struggled to speak. I don't know what's wrong with me. Nothing's wrong with either of us. He buried his face. I've loved you for so long, wrongly. Tears stung. Then why push me away? It's wrong. I'll ruin you. You didn't ruin me. You made me feel seen. He looked up, disbelieving. I don't know what this is, but I can't pretend. I won't. He looked up, pained. What do we do? I don't want to lose you. He took my hand. He pulled me close. A gentle, memorizing kiss. Not lust, not rebellion. We can't go back. Maybe we don't have to. We need time, space. Okay. But I'm not running. It's ours. Ours. No more words, just understanding. Irreversible. We'd face it. No bed that night, but a lingering touch in the hallway. The weight of waiting, tenderness, promise. Undone. Misunderstood. But his gaze made me question right and wrong. Not just a mistake. A choice. And I'd choose him again.